Good morning, hola, bonjour, welcome. Hope you all enjoyed the festivities. It's been a lovely jubbly little Jubilee bank holiday weekend. Yeah, plenty of time off for everyone to enjoy celebrating our lovely Queen's 70th year of reign. Yeah, well done, Your Majesty. We love you. It's been brilliant. It's nice to watch. It's a once in a lifetime event, and yeah, it's good to be around when that happened. We're all there, and you can enjoy it. Right. Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Life for Dave. So we are back down the boat, and we had a plan last week. So I've cut a stripper angle. There's a couple of ways I could have done this, but I'm going with this way. And I've made myself a little mould. So what I was thinking is I could fill up this corner, radius it in with a bit of that, fix that in, radius in some filler or something down that edge, and just, not use this stuff and just glass it straight round. But then what am I going to use to fill that with that's going to stick and not release every time, and I've got to redo it every time? I could plasticine it up, but then when I release the mould, chances are after that's going to peel off, I'm going to have to redo it all. I'm going to have to keep redoing it, and I've got a few to make. So I think what I'm going to do is just stick with my original idea, stick that in there. So I'll put my gel coat in up to here, not going right to the edge, stick that in to the gel coat. I'm going to lay a strip of glass down here, just a thin bit, like half the way. I'm going to separate that there and there to level it up to that bit, so I don't get too much of a lip on the front to lose. Then I can glass in over it, top and bottom, and that will give me that radius corner without too much work. I can wrap right round that, going straight over it, and I'll have my piece there. Once it's set, hopefully pop it out without damaging my mould, and I can make a few more. See how it works. It might last for one, it might last for two. If it lasts for all of them, that'll be fantastic. But we will see. So, right, that's got to be sanded. This is ready to go. I'll give it some wax, but I'm going to give it another coat now. So I've got some honey wax. I'm using the front camera so I can see the recording. So obviously everything's reversed. Ouch, don't do that, that's silly. Don't look at camera whilst opening can. Slip and stab fingers. Silly. Right, so in there you get a nice little pad with it. Take a bit of wax. Spread that over there and rub it round. So fiberglass doesn't stick to the plastic. It does release quite nicely. What I found out is if there are any little imperfections, the resin will seep through it. So I thought, well, if I give it a little bit of wax, it's just going to help. When I made the mould for the top of the boat, for where the hatch is going, I bought this wax for doing that with. So I've got the wax, I might as well use it. I didn't wax the last one, and the first sheet of glass I made doing it this way came out brilliant. The second one not so good. So I'm thinking if I give this mould a little bit of wax, that might well help us. Although glass won't stick to the plastic per se, I want it to release nicely without damaging it, so I can use it again. Like I say, I've got 2 more to make for this side, and I've got 3 to make for the other side. So that's all my polishing stuff with my waxes. So I'll leave that there for now. So I'm going to let that dry for a little minute. So all you do is rub that wax on, let it haze over. It only needs a few minutes, but 5-10 minutes, 15 minutes will be ideal. So we'll do that. Also just going to sand this down, so we'll get that sanded down whilst that wax sets up for a little bit. Then we'll buff that off, mix up some gel coat, slap some gel coat on there. I want to disappear, go make a coffee or something and all the rest of it for a little bit, let that tack up, and then we'll come back and I'm going to start doing some glassing, and then we'll have another one of these built pretty soon to stick next to that one. So what I've got to do is I've still got to blank the end off, but I don't want to stick it on the end like a cap on the end there, because that'll alter my length, and I know I can get 3 of these exactly in this length. So what I'm going to do is I'll make a cap that sits in there, and I can just glue it in the end there, tab it in with a little bit of glass each side when I do the glassing, and that's job done. But I'm only going to cap off the bottom. I'm leaving a little gap at the top, so I can run wiring through and stuff like that. And it's literally just a divider, so when I put stuff in this locker it stays in this one and vice versa the next one, and it's not all just sliding up and down and ending up transferring from one to the other. You know, there'll be a little gap over the top, so if I do need to poke something in there that's a bit longer, I might be able to get it in one of them and into the next one, and you know what I mean. So bit of fault. Right, let's get some sanding done on this one. That's pretty good. So what you do when you sand it down, not trying to sand anything away, you're just trying to key up the surface to give it a good mechanical bond, you know. So it's like putting teeth into it, you know, so it's got something to stick to. Now if you've got a smooth surface and a smooth surface, they don't stick very well. If you've got a jaggedy surface, they interlock, you know, and it gives it a better bond so that those two surfaces stick together mechanically. And that's the idea of sanding it. So as with anything, when you're using polyester resins and bits and pieces like that, you must sand it well, otherwise you won't get a good key, and what'll happen is it'll all stick lovely, you'll make your part and it'll look great, but then down the line it'll flex and it'll ping, and the two surfaces will just separate. So I've also got to sand this side because that's going into my mould with some gel coat there, you know, so the gel coat again won't stick to that, it'll end up peeling. It's like when you see people painting over paint and without sanding it, it just doesn't work. So what I'm doing is I'm going one way and then I'm doing little circles afterwards so that I get all directions. You can go crisscross one way and the other, you know. Left and right. Diagonally one way, then the other, crisscrossing it. Circles, swirls, whatever you want to do. When you key up the surface, you shouldn't have any sort of shiny bits left. Oh, so I don't want to sand too much of this away, it's just to key the surfaces. Right, so there we go. So we've got it sanded down, inside and out. Probably a lot easier not to be doing all that rubbing and use the electric sander, but that means getting all the stuff out and creating a lot more dust. So doing it by hand is a lot less dusty. It's just a bit more hard work, a bit more elbow grease, but it's all right. Got that's ready, so it just needs acetone. Hopefully we ain't covered it in too much dust. So take a rag, give that a buff off. Yeah, dried up now, so you can see it's dry to a haze. Just like polishing your car, you know. So what I've done with this was I siliconed it together. Little bead of silicone down the edge. And put a couple of screws in the back to hold it together. Giving me roughly a 90-degree edge there. So that's the plan, and then that will go in there next to the other one once it's moulded. So I'm not going right up to the silicone with my gel coat, because I only need to gel coat this in so that it sticks in the edge there. So I don't need to come down any lower than about there. Right, let's clean this up, get some acetone on there, and then I'm going to mix up some gel coat and get that on there. We'll get some cloth ready. What I'll do, split this. Split that in half, making it a little bit thinner, so it's a lighter weight cloth now. That's going to be the first little layer there. So just ramp this up level with this thickness of that glass there, plus the gel coat, so that will sink into the gel coat. Then I can go over with a full layer over the top of that, right up to the radius there. I'll do the same on the top side with that one. And now I need a full layer for that, which I could do with two halves there like that, because it's been torn. So there we go, so that's that. So we've got top and bottom first layers there. There's the top. There's the bottom. Now I want one layer to go top to bottom. Right, so I need a bit, it's roughly a foot, so if we mark it at a foot roughly, that there. A lot closer. Now I've just got my bit of wood there, and we can pull it upwards, tearing that off. You can use the shears, but for what I'm doing here, the shears work well. Straight edges, it doesn't matter. You know, I tend to tear it if I'm making transitions so that the edges, you don't get hard edge. When you've got this feathered edge, it makes it a lot easier to sand out and blend in. Right, so let's give us my layer to go right over the lot. Yeah, if we take the hard edge there, I can put that up against this side. Like I say, hard edge is fine sometimes. Depends what you're doing. For this application, it's probably better because it fits the mould nicely. So that will go in there, slightly oversized, because that gives me these wispy bits. Then I can just sand that off when I'm done, trim it all down to shape. The cloth's the right length, left to right, just slight overhang. When I roll it out, it will usually grow a little bit as well. You know, as the fibres move, it will stretch out, and that will actually grow slightly. So that's perfect. So we've got our layers of glass there now. Get rid of the other stuff, and yeah, we'll get some gel coat mixed up and crack on. Alright, so we've got some gel coat mixed up. So then we're just going to paint up the mould. Spread it out. No, I'm not too worried about this. This hasn't got to be a perfect finish. The gel coat on here pretty much serves to make it so when I've got to sand stuff, I'm not sanding away so much fiberglass. Don't want to go over the edges because that will make it lock the part in place. There. Probably some muck there. One side. Yeah, knocked up way too much gel coat. Wasn't sure how much I'd need to do this little bit, but not that much, clearly. I'm going to go right up to the edge with that because I don't want it running over the side. This ain't a finished piece, it hasn't got to be perfect. So we're going to brush that out so it's fairly even. Taking off any excess there. There we go, gel coat's on. Mixed up way too much. Never mind. Could splash it over that. So when I sand that down, you're sanding the gel coat rather than the fiberglass sanding it away. But I don't want too much up there. We just need to let that set up for a little bit and then we can come back and do some glassing. So we're done for now. I'll come back shortly. So I got bored. I didn't want to waste the gel coat there. I'm not going to go right up under here because I've still got to glass that in, and I don't want to have to. I don't want to stick it to the gel coat. I want it to stick to the glass so it's bonded well. But everything else here is pretty much done. I'll give it a wipe with some acetone. So I'm just using this out, so it ain't just wasting it, and it's not going to just go off in the pot creating heat. So I've got to stand it outside. I've still got too much. I've mixed up way too much. But I thought, well, it'll give me an idea what the boat's going to look like when it's done. Because this is my plan, it's going to be white and grey in here, so that's got to be sanded, but that'll give me something to sand so I'm not sanding away all the glass. It's already tacking over, so bit of a learning. So when I come to do the final coat inside the boat, I want to see how this stuff goes on. Not bad. But yeah, it don't give you long to go over it before you can feel it flashing off on the surface. You get that tacky surface. Because I might need a couple of coats on it. So I might use some that's not got a wax in, and then use the top coat with the wax to go over the top, give it a second coat. That's better. Now we ain't got no wastage. Don't like wasting stuff. Bad for the pocket, bad for the environment. There we go. So just gives you a rough idea what she's going to look like when it's all done. So that's going to be all white down to there, and then the bottom half's going to be grey all under the seats. All inside the lockers will be grey, everything else will be white at the moment. So that's the plan. Right, ta-ta. Bye for now.